Good afternoon, avid space fans. It has been 57 years to the day since Apollo 11 launched on their historic journey to the moon. But perhaps more importantly, today, sitting on the pad in Starbase, Texas, 124 meters tall, is Booster 20 and Ship 40 ready to launch Starship Lucky Number Flight 13. My name is Caden. I will be your host for today's live stream. Glad to have you all with us and glad to have my two guests here with me. I am joined today by the man, the myth, the legend, the one and only CSI Starbase, Zach Golden. How you doing, Zach?
Good. Hey, everybody. How's it going? Glad to be back on camera this time. Good to be here with y'all as well. We're just under 2 months since I think, 6 days short of 2 months since the last launch, Flight 12. So really great that it didn't take as long to complete the post-incident investigation and all that stuff and get back to, um, flying. I think hopefully y'all enjoyed that little break because I think this is probably the last time we'll see one like that for a very long time. I feel like from here on out, if we don't see one at least every month, I will be very surprised. So all of that starts today, and like I said, glad I was able to be here with y'all.
Yes, sir. Good to be back to a monthly cadence of Starship. And also joining me from the ranch down there at Starbase is the king of the channel, Mr. Lab Padre himself. How's it going, Lab?
Hey, Caden, good to see you. And we're, like you said, we're here at Rocket Ranch broadcasting live. Zach, it's good to see you again. We're just waiting here. It's kind of windy today. Keeping our fingers crossed. Hopefully, we're going to see some fire here in a little bit.
Yes, sir. Some controlled but very exciting fire. We're T minus 1 hour and 35 minutes just about from the targeted T0 here. SpaceX are looking at a window that opens at 5:45 p.m. local time. And as of now, we're still targeting the top of that window despite the winds down there in Starbase. Other than that, though, everything's looking good. According to SpaceX, everything's all right with the vehicle so far. We are just about 45 minutes away from the go for prop load. So we've got a little bit of time to hang out here with y'all. But glad to have all you guys with us here at Avid for another Starship flight. And hopefully we will see some continued success for Starship V3. We had quite a successful debut for this version of the vehicle during Flight 12 a couple months back, if you guys remember. We had a pretty much fully successful ascent. We lost one engine on the booster, but we had stage separation. The ship demonstrated engine out capability, lost one RVAC, but still got to orbit in one piece. Booster, we lost, of course, on the way down, but Ship 39 had a good Starlink deployment and a successful re-entry all the way down to the Indian Ocean. So there's a few kinks that SpaceX have worked out for this flight, namely some improvements to the propulsion systems of both stages. What caused the booster failure, according to the FAA investigation, was I believe it was like a fire in the propulsion system, which that has been addressed. And then there's also been some reliability upgrades to the ship today to keep those engine out scenarios from happening. So objectives for this flight are pretty similar to Flight 12 and to some of the other flights. We want to see a successful ascent, stage separation, and a booster splashdown. And then the ship will go on a suborbital trajectory that will take it all the way to the Indian Ocean. But before it gets there, we'll be deploying 20 Starlink satellites. And these are actually operational V3 Starlink satellites. They will deploy their solar panels and their antennas and test out components for the new version of Starlink that Starship hopes to deploy. 6 of those 20 satellites also have cameras and lights to observe the ship in orbit, as we briefly saw during Flight 12. So hopefully we'll get some more really nice views of Ship 40 during this flight. We're also, of course, they're going to be attempting a Raptor relight test in space, which we didn't get to see on Flight 12 because of that engine failure. And then hopefully we'll see a ship make it through re-entry and once again down to the Indian Ocean and set up for Flight 14, perhaps a fully operational orbital flight and a booster catch.
Yes, sir. I really can't wait to see those Starlink satellites out there and giving us some new video from outside the ship. That was really cool last time, and I'm really looking forward to that again.
Yeah, we got about it was right around, I think, like 30 seconds to a minute of footage from the last flight, which was awesome. But clearly they want more from that because there were only 2 of those imaging satellites on the last flight, and now they've got 6. So hopefully we'll be getting some more views and some more footage of different parts of the ship. I, for one, want to see what the heat shield looks like in orbit. And just to remind you guys in chat, if at any point leading up to liftoff you guys have any questions for us, you can ask those questions by pinging @question in the chat, followed by your question, and we can pull it up on screen and answer it.
I feel like I'm just realized I'm late on sending out my notifications, so getting a little post on X out here.
Yeah, and we are, if I'm not mistaken, simultaneously streaming on both YouTube and X. So all you people that are watching on the X app, very glad to have you guys with us as well. Oh, not this time, I've been told. We're only on YouTube. All right. Well, nonetheless, happy to have the YouTube gang with us today.
That's where it all started.
Yep, all 250,000 plus of you guys. We hit, if you remember, during the Flight 12 stream, that was when we hit that 250K milestone. That was pretty fun.
Yeah, we're slowly creeping up, and appreciate everybody watching and hanging out with us as we watch these launches happen.
Also appreciate the members of the channel. We've just, since we went live, or since we put up the live stream anyway, we've had a few people join memberships. We got Converted Hydrogen is Lab Padre Elite. That was 9 hours ago, so I'm not sure if you're still here, Converted Hydrogen, but thank you for that. We also had Over the Cuckoo, also Lab Padre Elite, and Des Nichols, Lab Padre Gold. Thank you, guys.
Indeed. Thank y'all very much for your extended support out there. Glad to have y'all.
And Zach, I know one thing you were excited to see during the last flight was Pad 2 coming online and flexing its muscles for the first time. What do we think about, have there been any major changes made since then, or anything new that might be demonstrated here on Flight 13? Or is it basically the same thing? We're just looking to see them basically show off how much more durable this pad is compared to Pad 1, how much less refurbishment there is.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely made a few minor changes. I think there's more to come, though. So specifically, the tower vent that we've all become used to, spraying uh, basically boiled off liquid oxygen and methane out of the side of the tower. They did start to make some moves on recapturing that. I think they were initially set up to do that, and so we actually weren't expecting that tower vent. But then it seems like they had some issue with that system, and they went back to the tower vent. But as of now, they're kind of doing some retrofits on the tank farm, and part of that is adding more methane. They've really added more of everything: methane, oxygen, liquid nitrogen, and I think we believe 2 of these tanks might be for recapturing liquid oxygen. So that was one of the things that I initially was thinking that maybe this launch wouldn't happen as soon as we were expecting, because they're still seem to be working on that part of the system. So I think for the most part, because that doesn't appear to be ready, we'll probably see pretty much the same as far as like procedure goes. All the vents in the same location for the most part. Although I haven't started to see the one that comes over the wall, the little waterfall vent yet. But yeah, for the most part, like I said, everything is relatively the same. We did get a lot of really cool views of the flame trench from the latest documentary of SpaceX, which was really nice to see some of that stuff in a way that we haven't seen it before. So I'm sure most of y'all have probably seen that by now. But yeah, with the deluge system and everything else, like I said, everything else is pretty much the same, although they have done quite a bit of testing since the last launch. I think there was like close to, I'd have to do another count. I think it was like 15 individual deluge tests in between the last flight. So still seem to be working some bugs out of the system, but obviously, if they got a vehicle on the pad and ready for launch right now, they must have had everything worked out. So I think we're pretty much good for today.
Yeah, that documentary that they released, the second part of their series, I definitely appreciated some of the stuff that was in that, especially their very sophisticated thermal load sensing devices that they have inside the flame trench. That was a treat.
Yeah, definitely. And some people were, because after flight 12, I posted that I was kind of upset that they didn't talk about the deluge system more because it's such a big part of the actual system. So I had a feeling that they were going to wait to do that in a the second part of that documentary series, which did end up happening, although they still didn't really go into much detail about it. Which they did show us some cool things, like you were saying, inside the flame trench with the different samples of steel that they had welded to the wall, essentially. I think it was like zinc, copper, and
I think it was zinc, copper, and aluminum.
aluminum.
Maybe.
Yeah, I
I think
think
it was
yeah.
aluminum. Yeah,
Um,
and
and
Sharpie. Can't forget Sharpie.
yeah, there's something weird about that though, because it seemed like they made it sound like they had already, like that was a post static fire. So I need to go back and look at it because it seems like that was actually before the static fire. So I've gone through, because I was kind of surprised that I didn't like see those on the wall, even though they are kind of tiny. With how much we analyze all the aerial cameras or aerial views every week with the weekly RGV streams. Kind of surprised I didn't notice it. And when I actually went back to look for it, I think we found it on the wall. And there was actually like a stain downstream from it, which it was like a white, basically like stain on the wall. So it almost looked like the aluminum one potentially melted. Um, but I mean, it's not, the trench itself is made of stainless steel, so I think aluminum is probably has the lowest melting temperature out of the three metals that they had on that wall. So I think the fact that the other two samples survived seems to be a good thing. So
Right. And we've already got a few questions coming in here. You guys are on that. First one here is from Big Dole 10 asking, is this the shortest time between two launches of Starship? I don't believe so. I think flights 5 and 6 were less than a month apart, weren't they?
yeah, flight between flight 5 and 6, I think it was just over a month, because flight 5 was October 13th, and then 6 was November 19th. So just
Okay, so
over
just over a
six
month.
days over. Yeah. So I think that was the record holder. I'm just looking at the dates right here.
Mhm. And
Even the
we
gap
mentioned
between
earlier.
flight 7 and 8 was slightly shorter as well too.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, but
And 8 and 9.
hopefully that record will be broken pretty soon.
Yeah, like I said, I suspect that this is probably the longest break we'll see for quite a while. Not only just at Starbase, but they do have Pad 39 is getting very close to being operational. We've seen plenty of deluge tests out there. It's pretty crazy that we're even able to see them from that far away with those cameras. But yeah, they have been actually testing the deluge system. We've seen, I think they've even, I don't think the booster QDs are ready, but like most of the pad looks like it's getting close to being ready. I think they still have some tank farm expansion going. But Gwyn Shotwell said that they were expecting that flight 15 might be from the Cape, I think is what she said. So with that being the case, having two operational launch pads probably for the next year, and then pad 37, I have a feeling will be online before pad 2 will, or sorry, pad 1, and then pad 1 will probably follow shortly after that. So I would say about 2 years from now, we'll have at least 4 operational pads. But within the next 2 months, next 2 or 3 months, we'll probably have 2 operational pads, which, with that operational, we'll be having definitely monthly flights, if not at least 2 flights a month very quickly.
Yeah, and they're already pretty substantially building up the infrastructure to transport vehicles from Starbase to the Cape or vice versa. So I think we're definitely getting pretty close to seeing our first flight from 39A for sure.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing as well, because they really started on the Giga Bay in Florida before they started the one here. So that one is a lot closer to being completed, and they already have their first bridge crane installed, which we saw some cool images of that. That was posted by Kiko Donchev, I think 2 weeks ago. And they already have that bridge crane, and that was like one of the first things they got ready out there, along with, I think they're working on and about to start installing the first work stands in there as well too. And the reason they needed it out there first is because they need to be able to upright the booster and ship once they arrive out there. And here, I have a feeling that they'll be able to use Mega Bay 2 for laying the booster, for breaking the booster over and the ship as well too. So I think they don't necessarily need the Giga Bay operational here in order to start sending vehicles down there. So that's just speculation for now, though, because I mean, I'm not sure whether or not there's enough space outside of Mega Bay 2 to actually get a booster laid down flat. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see on that. But I mean, if they're expecting it to be on flight 14 or 15, then I mean, I think it's definitely gonna be Mega Bay 2 where that happens. So yeah, they're got everything pretty much lined up, and you know, towards that rapid expansion out on the East Coast. So things are going to be pretty crazy over the next year.
Oh yeah, that cadence is going to be ramping up. And I'll take another question here from Ask Bruce Gordon. He's the one doing the asking here. Can you put your optimist hats on and convince me that 13 will be totally nominal? I can't take this suborbital purgatory anymore. Well, you know, lucky number 13, as they say. But no, for real. I think, you know, Flight 12 went, I think, quite a bit better than a lot of us were expecting. I think, you know, give SpaceX enough time to make reliability upgrades to their vehicles, and they'll get it right. And I think it's reasonable to expect this to be a fairly better outcome than Flight 12. You know, they might not get every last thing perfect, excitement guaranteed, as they say, but I think there's reason to be optimistic for sure for this one. And as superstitious as people might be about the number 13, you know, I'm only a little stitious, in the words of Michael Scott. So, I mean, Lab, you've been here the longest out of all of us. So, you know, you've had your optimist hat on, you've had your pessimist hat on. What do you think?
I think we're good to go. I think we're going to fly today. The wind is a little rough, but I was looking at the winds aloft earlier, and they don't seem too bad. That's usually what they're mainly worried about, is those upper winds. So I say we do it today.
Yeah, I mean, you know, if SpaceX can get past those winds, and it seems that so far everything's looking good. Of course, last flight we had some issues late in the count, but I think
Yeah, that was rough.
I feel yeah. I feel pretty good about a flight today, and I think if everything does go, you know, pretty much off without a hitch today, I think it's very much possible, if not even likely, that we see them actually go fully orbital for Flight 14. Because I know recently they filed some permits with the FAA for ship RTLS, or it was the FAA that started a environmental assessment for that. So they've at least, you know, got their eyes on that sort of thing pretty soon. And of course, they can't really do ship RTLS without going to a full orbit, or at least practically a full orbit. So I think we're pretty close to getting out of that suborbital purgatory.
Yeah, I think we're probably, I mean, I feel personally a lot better about this one than the last one. I think I was definitely a little bit more on the pessimistic side on the last flight, specifically as it related to the booster, because I, you know, even still now have a hard time believing that the 33 engine boost back will work. It just seems like such an aggressive maneuver. And, you know, I mean, I think eventually it will work, you know, because sometimes it really just all comes down to software. It's like, you know, you can see where the problem is, you can also find a solution for that problem more often than not, as long as physics doesn't prevent you from doing it. But I when I first heard that they were doing that 33 inch boost back, I thought that it was something that they should like work up to, like, oh, let's, you know, on this first one, let's do a flight profile where we're doing 13 and then we'll work up to 20 and, you know, then go up to 33 on the next one. So just jumping straight to 33 on that was kind of crazy to me. And I'm pretty positive I said before that launch that I thought that the booster was going to fail in boost back. So yeah, I mean, I try to be optimistic as much as possible, but I also try to be like real. You know, I'm not necessarily a person who can just tell you everything's going to be great if I don't personally feel that way. But I do feel a lot better about today's launch. The fixes I thought were a little bit strange though, specifically with the engines. So like in part of what the most probable cause that they identified was that heat effects on engine components that were accumulated during ascent. So we did see some changes on the Raptors on booster 20 or yeah, and they had like new caps on some of the I think they were the main fuel valves on the side of the power head. And I was like, okay, well, how are you getting that heating on ascent? I would have kind of expect that during the entry phase, not during the ascent phase. So that was a little confusing to me. But I do imagine we'll probably get more of an explanation from them today on that. I feel like oftentimes when you read those reports, they're kind of lacking in information. Like they tell you the answer, but they don't at the same time, if that makes sense. So I'm hoping we get some more information today. Yeah. Yeah. I actually just wrote a similar statement like that in my script for my next episode. I had to like go back and change some things. And I'm like, well, you know, this ended up being wrong, but the reason it's wrong is because they're often speak in terms that like are almost intentionally vague or ambiguous. So yeah, like I said, I'm hoping that we get more explanation of that today. And I guess the other fix that they said was basically another software related fix. So engine alarm, abort system settings that didn't match the multi-engine flight conditions, which is interesting because it's actually like a similar abort to what the deluge system did to them the first time. There was something that they explained in the latest documentary, the Critical Path documentary. So yeah, like I said, with that, I'm hoping that we get some more information as well too. But you know, one thing that has always remained true, I gotta double check myself before I say this. I don't think the booster team has ever failed twice in a row. So that's a plus. If there's one team at all of Starbase that I like, oh man, I feel bad even saying this, that I rank above like the others as far as just like getting it done, it would be the booster team. And that would be, that's like a close second with the stage 0 team, honestly. I feel like the ship is getting there, but you know, I mean, we all know what happened with the V2 series of ships, so I don't really need to get into that. But yeah, the booster team seems to be really good at finding solutions to their problems. And you know, I guess on this last flight, one of their problems turned out not even to be their fault; it was the ship's fault when the booster rotated 90 degrees in the wrong direction, essentially. So. Yeah, I mean, nothing they can do about that.
Yeah,
but, ask the ship team to get their programming a little bit better. I was surprised that happened because that was like one of the big things with the V3 that we were expecting, was that they wouldn't need because they put a little shield on the front of the inner stage with the last V2 boosters. I think the last two they put that on there, maybe 3 of them, and that was like really effective at getting it to rotate in the direction they wanted, and they specifically said that they weren't going to have to do that anymore because they would basically accomplish that with the ignition sequence on the ship. So when it rotated the wrong direction, I was confused because it was like, but that was your plan, was to do this offset ignition, a staggered ignition essentially. And then that seemed like it just didn't happen. And it also seemed like they didn't even do that when they were testing during the 6-engine static fire test. Whereas this time we actually did noticeably see them do it during the Ship 40's static fire test. So yeah, a bunch of strange things during the last flight, in my opinion.
Yeah. And we did see that different startup sequence on Ship 40 static fire. So that was nice to see. We did get a $50 super chat coming in from Yazada. I know they've been here for quite a few streams at this point, an Avid Space regular. So thank you very much for that. And they say thanks to Lab, Zach, and Caden for doing this. We appreciate your support, Yazada.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for your support. Awesome.
Let's see if we've got any other burning questions here in the feed. I did see one here from a skeletal ghost. This is something a lot of people have been asking. Do we think that they'll ever launch from Texas and catch in Florida or vice versa? And I'm assuming this is referring to the ship.
Eventually, probably. I think right now, the latest documents that they've put out have shown them returning the ship to Starbase from Florida, not the other way around. So I think that we'll probably see a launch from Florida and land in Texas first before we see the other way around, which is almost a bit counterintuitive because you would think that instead of having to send the ships by barge, that the best way to get them to Florida would be to fly them there. So yeah, I do imagine that once we get that first return to launch site from the ship, then we'll probably start seeing all kinds of crazy things appear in the new FAA and FCC documents. So yeah, more than likely, definitely see at least from Florida to Texas, and then probably shortly after that, the opposite direction.
Yeah, and someone did bring up in chat, they are different inclination sites. So like you said, it is kind of counterintuitive to think that they would do that. And then, of course, that rules out them ever doing something like that with the booster. Not that they would be able to anyway. I don't think it has the Delta V for that. But yeah, we saw the FAA documents come out recently about a return to Starbase. So I would say, Flight 14, whatever they have planned for that, I truthfully don't expect them to attempt a ship catch on Flight 14, but if that goes off without a hitch, maybe Flight 15, that first flight from Florida, we could see them return the ship to Texas as well. I wouldn't leave it off the table. And I think we can see it right. Yeah, we can see it through this view. It looks like the tower is venting, so that's a pretty good sign.
I think there's a chance we'll see the ship return on Flight 14. If everything goes well today, I would be surprised if they don't. I mean, they do need to do an orbital flight first, like that. That is definitely probably a higher priority, but I feel like both of those probably go together. Ideally,
I think booster return for sure on Flight 14. I think we absolutely see a booster catch.
Yeah, we definitely need another catch. It's been a while.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they still need to test landing the booster directly on the grid fins. That's one of the changes that they made with the V3 design. So I mean, yeah, I guess they could go straight for a ship return, or I actually did just see Yazada bring up that if Flight 14 is fully orbital, they could do a ship splashdown just off of the coast of Starbase, kind of like what they were doing with the boosters leading up to the first booster catch, where they would still have it splash down, but it would be really close to the beach. I think that absolutely could happen. We got another $20 super chat from Sharpie 2026 saying much kudos to Caden, CSI Starbase, and Lab Padre for bringing us this live. Thank you for your extended support, Sharpie. Glad you didn't melt in the flame trench.
Rock on, Sharpie. Thank you very much.
And right after that, another $100 donation from Inden Star saying, looking forward to an outstanding flight. The Lab Padre Avid views continue to be amazing. Thanks, Lab. Thank you guys so much for your extended support, including Mauser, who I just saw is a member for 78 months today, 6.5 years. Wow.
Rock on, Mouser and Indian Star. Thank you very much. Mwah.
We are just a little over 17 minutes out from SpaceX's go for prop load, an hour and 7 minutes out from launch. Everything's still looking good. The launch window today lasts for an hour and a half, so it's from 5:45 p.m. local time to 7:15. And just as a reminder, we are still targeting the top of that window at 5:45.
You know, going back to the orbital and splashdown scenarios, I would think that if they can complete an orbit, why not just go for catch? Why waste the ship and land it in the Gulf?
That is a good point. I mean, I guess part of the reason why they did some of the closer splashdowns to the Gulf for the booster was because they didn't have, for one, they didn't have to complete a full orbit before that, but also they wanted to test out what the profile looks like if the ship is coming down towards the tower and has to abort to the Gulf, which I'm sure the ship has a similar scenario. But like you said, if you're going to go through all the effort of getting it to a stable orbit and deorbiting it and everything, why not just see if you can catch it while you're at it? So definitely seems like what SpaceX would be thinking for sure.
Labs, that Anthony walking around behind you?
No, that's not him. We got Wiz over here and a couple of other people. Got Wiz Kid in the house helping out over here.
He's got them heavy footsteps.
Oh yeah,
shake your camera.
Yeah, it looks like we got our third charter bus over here bringing people in, so it's really starting to crowd up over here now. I wasn't expecting this many people here. It was kind of a last minute type of launch. Not a lot of time for people to get ready to come out here, but evidently they're packing it in.
Yeah, I kind of expected less people would be there because I think most people didn't necessarily believe that it was going to launch the day they said it was going to. So, when they announced it, I honestly at first I was like, it doesn't really seem realistic to me. But I'm actually not surprised that they ended up pulling that off. So,
oh, looks like Lab's giving us a view outside at the ranch. Yeah, there's that charter bus. And there's a decent crowd there. But yeah, I mean, this was, for one, a bit of a short notice launch. And also, like you said, I don't think very many people actually expected it to launch today. So
yeah, we have a lot of people in the back in the shade right now until it gets close to launch time. We got some food in the back. We got this barbecue truck here also. And yeah, everybody's hooting and hollering and having a good time.
Oh man, you're giving me FOMO, Lab. What are you doing? I'm sure it is hot down there though, with all those people in the shade. I hope everyone's got plenty of water. Yes, Yazada, Lab is at Rocket Ranch.
Yeah, we are loving broadcasting out here with the Rocket Ranch team. This is actually what we call the outpost. The main Rocket Ranch is a few miles down the road where everybody camps. And the outpost is out here just about 3.5 miles from the launch site. And just about as close as you can get without getting yourself hurt.
Here's a interesting question. This is from Ari, I know this seems crazy, but why couldn't they put a nose cone on top of the hot stage ring and fly boosters to Florida? With no ship, could they reach Florida? I mean, I'm sure they could, but my intuition tells me it's probably cheaper and easier logistically to just ship the boosters there on boats.
Yeah,
I don't
that's a
know if
lot
they
of
could make it
fuel.
that far. I have a feeling they wouldn't make it that far.
I mean, with no ship, I guess it's worth considering, but yeah, I mean, it is a long distance nonetheless. The Gulf is bigger than you think, and also there's an inclination change.
It's only what 900 miles away. Got to try it on the simulator, see how it works.
Yeah, I was about to say that's a Scott Manley question. If I'm
Yeah, I was
personally
about
not
to
a
say
KSB player. Sad to admit that, but
that's
uh,
yeah, that's the real test. Does it work in KSP? Oh, yeah, it's another thing. Would they even be allowed to overfly Florida even if they could make it? Because 'Cause they'd probably be going over, like, around Tampa or Miami, or well, Orlando, obviously, on the way there, so that is a whole other thing. And we got another $100 donation, or specifically 99.99 from Rich R67. Thank you to the entire Avid Space team. Thank you to you and all the rest of our supporters for this. It is because of you guys that we can do this type of stuff.
Rock on, Rich. Thank you very much for your extended support out there.
okay. Well, Mauser's a KSP player. He said he thinks the booster could SSTO with a nose cone.
I mean, mathematically, maybe, but well, I don't know. This this is SpaceX. Don't put anything past them. Don't give them any ideas, Mouser. There might be some people
You know,
watching.
I actually forgot about the property that they acquired in Louisiana. So um, that seems more likely than Florida.
That's true. It is
5
closer.
years from now.
Yeah, that's a good point. It might not survive the re-entry heat.
We were expecting a pretty hazy day today, and it is cleared up pretty darn good. We had the Saharan dust that's been coming through here for the past couple of weeks, and the weather's been calling for it to be pretty hazy. Yesterday it was really bad, and right now the Sapphire has a really good view. So I'm very surprised.
I'm sure all of the remote photographers are pretty happy about that. I mean, yeah, it looks pretty clear from the view that we've got right now. I mean, just about the best viewing conditions you could ask for.
There's that view, that Sapphire view.
Yeah, it is pretty hazy, but I mean,
It's about as clear as it gets from Sapphire, though.
that's true. Someone in chat said it looks like Vandy today. Now, if it looked like Vandy, we wouldn't be
You
able to
wouldn't see
see
it.
anything. That's SN11 looked like Vandy.
Yeah, I think we have. So we just passed over that hour mark about a minute ago. Uh, Everything's still looking good out there. You know, one of the interesting things that I think for this launch is that they're doing they're putting the real V3 Starlink satellites on the vehicle this time. That was a little bit surprising to me. I mean, especially given the trajectory that they're going to be on, because they basically are on a ballistic trajectory with the ship. Um, so they'll probably be re-entering right around that same time. Um, so that's going to be interesting, especially given that they're supposed to actually deploy their um, solar panels, I believe, and also communicate with the rest of the Starlink network, which is a lot to do in that short time. I guess I don't know how long they normally wait after stage separation to deploy. I haven't watched a Falcon 9 launch in quite a while, but I don't think they ever really show that part. So, do we know how long they actually take to deploy normally?
I'll be for real. I have not been tuning into all the Starlink launches lately. There's too many to keep track of.
Yeah, they're pretty much every day. I mean, the good news is I think we should get some views of that this time, um, since they'll have, was it six of them that will have satellites, or sorry, cameras on them.
Yeah, they've got 6 Dodger dogs this time. They only had 2 last time.
So if they're deploying these real life satellite Starlink satellites, do you think they're going to travel further, or pretty much deploy them in the same area as they deployed the Mox? I wasn't sure if they were in the at the correct altitude to have actual satellites go in, because I was under the assumption that those dummies were just going to kind of glide and then just burn up real quick after after they came back in.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's okay. So we do have the timeline for when that deployment will be. I think it's 20 T plus 16 minutes. So that seems earlier than last time, if I'm not mistaken. I'm gonna pull up the timeline from the last one.
Yeah, because I was thinking the same thing. I mean, it does seem like not a whole lot of time for them to deploy the solar panels, all of the antennas, get into contact with the ground station, and do tests with the rest of the constellation. I mean, these are upgraded satellites, so I mean, maybe the deployment and like um initialization sequence is quicker than V2, but I'm not sure.
Yeah. So okay, there's about 20 minutes in between the completion of payload deployment and Starship entry. So whatever they're going to do with those, I'm assuming happens in less than 20 minutes, which will be interesting. Um, that's actually pretty cool that they deploy that quickly.
Wow.
I mean, I imagine honestly that like extending the the solar panels probably happens in less than a minute. So, but yeah, I mean, I guess it maybe doesn't seem all that unrealistic for it to fully complete what they're trying to do in that period of time. It just seems way faster than what I would expect.
Hmm. Yeah, and they are just like the dummy satellites are on the same suborbital trajectory as Starship itself, so they will burn up. And we saw the dummy satellites burn up on the last flight as the ship was about to re-enter, which was really neat. I wonder if we'll get something similar, and if it'll maybe be more visible because there's more satellites, but also you've got some more reflective components on there, like the solar panels.
I guess the question is whether they leave the solar panels deployed for reentry or if they bring them back in.
I mean, it's going to burn up regardless, right?
I mean, it probably burns up a little bit better if they leave them out.
Maybe. They do definitely catch more air. They're definitely better for for drag. I mean, even the ISS has a pretty substantial amount of drag that it has to fight off against because of its solar array wings.
That tower vent looks like it's really picking up now. Do we have audio on rover 2 right now? I'm not sure.
Oh, that's true. Someone did bring up in chat that if the Raptor relight happens, then it probably will be less visible than last time because the ship will be ahead in its trajectory.
Possibly. Because that relight burn is... We actually don't know. I feel like the last one was fairly short.
Yeah, it only lasted like, I think, 2 or 3 seconds.
I feel like we'll probably still be able to see them. But I'll tell you what, that's going to be a really cool view of the engine relight from that perspective.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's a relatively famous bit of footage from, I think it was Apollo 9. It was one of the Saturn V flights to Earth orbit where they watched the third stage of the Saturn V, the S4B, do a burn out to, I don't know if it was like a deorbit burn or if it went out, if it was like going out to the moon or something. But there's like some pretty cool footage from the Apollo spacecraft of that engine lighting up. So I wonder if we might see something similar from the Starlinks for this. Got a couple more super chats. One from Andy Alder 1 with 5 pounds asking, will Nerdle Cam end up pointing up or down this time?
Lock.
Down. Straight to the ground.
And then another donation, $20 from Snake 2.0. That Suburban completely eaten up with rust. I think he's referring to the Suburban that we used down to have one of the cameras on that got kind of wrecked on, was it flight 12 that happened on, or was it flight 11? One of those.
It must have been. I have a feeling, wasn't it one of the static fire tests actually?
Oh, right. It was one of the static fires leading up to Flight 12. That's right. Because I remember us talking about it during the Flight 12 stream. Yeah. But thank you guys for your extended support, both of you. And we also just had someone gift 10 memberships. That would be Stan J7223. Thank you so much for giving out those memberships to some folks in chat, and enjoy being part of the Extended Lab Padre family, y'all.
As cool as this tower vent is, I would like to see it go away. I haven't seen the vents that are on the blast wall yet, which is interesting. I feel like those are late.
Well, we should have gotten the go for prop load just about 2 minutes ago, so we'll be waiting for SpaceX to confirm that happened. Of course, it's always possible that they might have pushed it back a little bit. I know that happened on one or both of the Flight 12 attempts. So it's not unusual.
Wow. That vent is really going right now.
It's venting. Colin Smith 500 is wondering if Rover 3 will survive unscathed today. I believe it survived Flight 12, did it? I think it was all right. And it has also moved down the highway quite a bit, so yeah, I think it'll be fine. Not to tempt fate, but
I'm more worried about the new blast wall. They're in the process of constructing a perimeter wall. The one that the Gateway to Mars sign is on. There's another one right behind that that's currently being constructed, and I think they have sections of it that just have the formwork up there, and I have a feeling some of that's going to fall down, like the Gateway sign, but we'll see.
The what was it? It was GAT Y or something after Flight 12. Most of the letters got knocked off. Of course, the immortal Starhopper is still intact and will remain so. Eric Mortensen asks, do you think the reason they are deploying real satellites is because they lost connection to them last time and did not get their data? I'm not sure if that is exactly why they're doing real Starlink V3 satellites. I think it's more just they want to test out the design of the new satellite before they take it to orbit, and it was ready, so they thought, why not fly it? But I do think that maybe the reason that they have 6 of the imaging satellites now instead of 2, I think maybe that could be why, was because it seemed like they only got they didn't get quite as much footage from them as they wanted to on Flight 12, so they basically tripled the amount of imaging satellites on this flight. So I think perhaps that could be the reason for that, but I think mainly they just want to test out the new Starlink design when it's ready.
I have a feeling they've also been producing them at a rate that they're just like piling up. So they kind of want to get rid of some of them. Because I feel like they probably expected to be doing orbital flights like a year ago. So I imagine they probably have a lot of those just stored up right now. And wow, that tower vent really, it already was in the liquid phase, but it's starting to fall straight down to the ground right now. Still 7 minutes out from prop load.
Oh, well, we do have a tweet from SpaceX that says go for prop load, so that's good news. Moving on through the countdown. And SpaceX's stream actually goes live in just about 8 minutes here, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, it says live at 5:10. So now it didn't show up on the questions feed, but I did see someone ask in chat if the flight trajectory for this one remains the same as last time. Far as I'm aware, yeah, the trajectory is essentially the same as Flight 12. Only if they do end up relighting the single Raptor 3 engine for this flight, which they're going to attempt to do because they didn't get to on the last flight, then that will change the trajectory a little bit. But outside of that, yes, flight profile, trajectory, and most of the flight objectives outside of some of the things they're doing with Starlink remain the same as Flight 12. Someone said 8 minutes, no frost. Well, that is not unexpected. That's just, it's been 8 minutes, not coming up on 9 minutes since the Gopher prop load, but we shouldn't expect to actually see frost start showing up and for prop load to really kick into gear. That shouldn't be happening for about another 5 minutes. There's a little bit of a gap between the poll for Gopher prop load and the actual loading. And that's just because they need to chill down all of the propellant lines, both in the ground systems and also in the vehicles themselves. So we should see that frost line start creeping up here in just a few minutes.
So yeah, we have just about everybody in the house over here streaming today. We have us, of course. We have Everyday Astronaut with Cosmic Perspective. We have Jordan with What About It, and we also have NSF here. So we have a big crowd of streamers here today, and Rocket Ranch is really loving it.
Yeah, I love to see the whole gang down there, all of the different people covering all the activities down at Starbase. Excited for all of the different angles that we're going to get from each of the different channels, for sure. And glad to have all 852 of you guys and counting watching today. Thank you for choosing Avid for y'all's coverage of Flight 13. We've been here since the very beginning, and we don't plan on stopping.
Yes, so sir. Crazy just watching this liquid oxygen pour down like that. Like I've seen it so many times, but like it's like literally going into the base of the tower. It's raining down like you can see it falling off the roof.
It almost looks like the whole bottom quarter of the tower is venting with the way that it's kind of coming off there.
Yeah. I think we should be into prop load for the booster, right?
That's coming up in about a minute and a half, according to our timeline.
Okay.
What was that, Lab? I think you had something.
Yeah, I was just gonna reiterate about how windy it is. You can just see all the venting just coming across the bays, and the whole area there. It is really cranking over here. Every once in a while, this media box that we're up on just shudders and shakes everything. It's pretty intense.
What you said was that was from the wind?
Yeah. Yeah, the our tracking cam here. We have two tracking cams here, one telescope camera and one regular DSLR camera, and both of them are shaking wildly.
Of course, upper level winds are generally what you worry about more when it comes to rocket launches. I'm not sure how much of a priority or lower level winds are, but of course, SpaceX are still pressing on to 5:45 liftoff. So, I mean, there have been times where they've gotten down to like the last few minutes and weather is still red. So that it could be a case of that right now. I guess we'll find out when they go live.
Yeah, I think we're still under the threshold right now. I think we've launched in heavier, lower winds like this in the past. I think you'd have to be 40 plus sustained before they'd stand down.
Send it.
Yeah. We should now be getting into prop load on Super Heavy, and very shortly we'll be into prop load on the ship. So we'll be watching out for that frost line to show up. And if you guys remember from Flight 12, with V3, that frost line, it climbs, and you can watch it climb in real time. It is crazy how fast they're able to load this thing.
Yeah, it looks like they just sent out a. I'm sorry if you just said that. They just sent out. Prop load has begun.
Very nice. And we should see SpaceX go live pretty soon. That's about a minute away, I think. I see in chat, thank you, Steven and Vix, members for 74 months and 56 months, respectively. We got good vibes today.
You guys think we're going to see another random cameo today?
Yeah, we had we had Nicki Minaj in the last one, and then I think Elon showed up in Flight 11. Oh, we also had Jared Isaacman during Flight 12. So, hey, we'll see. I'm sure there's some random celebrity down in Starbase right now. As you can see, SpaceX are live now. So we'll pipe in some of their commentary as soon as that shows up. Hopefully we'll get some good info.
I just sent out a mass text to all the locals here, letting them know to put away their pets and be prepared for a good shaking around here.
My dog would absolutely lose it.
My dog used to lose it, but he's gotten used to it now. He pops his head up, looks around, and no big deal.
Yeah, my dog, she can hear lightning from like 15 miles away. That's how I get. Like I can tell that it's coming before I actually get the notification on my phone.
Yeah, my dog, I don't know, she'd probably try to run towards Starship as it was launching. I know, like, because just recently during July 4th, we were doing fireworks at our place, and we had to keep her inside because if we brought her out to watch the fireworks with us, she would try to run towards it because she was too curious. She has no survival instincts.
Yeah, our animals grew up here on South Padre Island, where we have during the summer we have fireworks Friday night, Saturday night, and Monday night, and we're just basically a block and a half away from where they're being shot off at. So our house rocks every weekend. Also, I wanted to mention we're WizKid and I are doing a little experiment here that we have that we haven't told anybody about. Damn, well, you sprayed.
Oh my God.
Okay. So yeah, we're doing a little experiment here. We have some very old windows from a 60-year-old building in Port Isabel, Texas, and we put them out near the launch pad and at our cam tower area. And we're going to we put some cameras up on them, and we're going to see how well they last throughout this blast of Flight 13. We have two single pane windows, and we have one modern dual pane window that's hurricane proof. The hurricane proof one we left basically near Rover 2, which is about, I don't know, 1,500 feet away from the launch pad. And our cam tower is about 3/4 of a mile away. And that's where the old windows are. So I'm very excited and curious to see what those things look like after this thing goes off.
Yeah, for sure. Keep us posted. We've got that was some great color commentary from the background there. But I'm gonna go ahead and pipe in the SpaceX stream audio here just to see what they're saying real quick.
Also an exciting day for the Starlink team because we are planning to deploy 20 of the newest Starlink satellites. These sats aren't intended for operational use and will only be in space for about 20 minutes before demising. But during that 20 minutes, we're going to speed run a bunch of tests, things like deploying solar arrays, firing thrusters. We'll get into those details a little later in the show.
Yeah. Now, what Starlink engineers learned today will be essential to deploying operational V3 satellites into the Starlink constellation on future Starship flights. These larger, more powerful next-generation satellites are designed to boost orbital capacity, strengthen the overall network, and deliver a noticeably better experience for our customers.
And as we've said before, Starship is a developmental program. What we're doing today is a test. We test in flight because it's the best way to rapidly iterate the design by putting the vehicle through its paces in the actual conditions it will experience during an operational mission.
Exactly. So while we have real Starlink satellites on board, the most important payload today is data. But no matter the outcome of today's test flight, as usual, excitement is guaranteed.
Now let's head a couple of floors upstairs where Dan Hewitt is just outside the Launch Control Center. How's it going, Dan?
Hey, Nathan.
My
it
man,
is
Dan.
going great. Hi to Kate as well. And hey, everybody else. I'm Dan Hewitt with SpaceX Communications. It's great to be back here with you, flying from Starbase just a couple of weeks after the last one. That was Flight 12. That was in May. We debuted a lot of new hardware, all of it flying for the first time. We're going to dig into some of the details in a minute on how that flight went, but it came with a bunch of exciting wins, some important lessons. But let's look at right now. Things are looking very good. We are not tracking any issues on the vehicle or on the pad. Just behind me in the Launch Control Center, we've got engineers on console looking at the rocket, all the systems as we count down. We have started propellant load, putting liquid oxygen, liquid methane on both stages of Starship, and we're looking good right now to launch at the open of our window at 5:45 p.m. Central Time. Weather is barely worth mentioning. We came in today with about a 90% probability of go, and we've got blue skies, scattered clouds, no scary winds. We're looking really good. Range is also currently green for launch. Reminder, we're watching the range both off the coast and the Gulf here at Starbase. and also on the other side of the planet in the Indian Ocean, where we are hopefully sending the Starship in just a couple of minutes from now. All right, so before we dig into everything else for today, let's take a look back real quick at Flight 12. Now, as I said, that was the first launch of a new ship, new booster, new Raptor engine, first flight from Pad 2 here at Starbase. A lot went right.
All right, so sounds like everything's looking pretty good. It was funny, we've been talking about these wins the whole stream, and he just goes, weather's barely worth mentioning.
Propelling that full stack skyward from Starbase. After we got through liftoff, booster ascent, it was Starship's turn, lit its engines for hot staging. We tried to flip the booster in a specific direction that gives us more performance. We had some differences in engine startup. We were off by about 90 degrees. We've modified that startup sequence, made it more robust to flip in the right direction. Super Heavy attempted its boost back burn. 5 engines experienced issues when attempted to relight, so we had an early end to that. We made some hardware modifications to improve relight reliability and updated our alarms and aborts. That booster attempted a landing burn as it approached the Gulf. That was unsuccessful, and it ended its flight with a hard splashdown in the hazard area. Now, while that was happening, Starship made its ascent into space. About 40 seconds after stage step, though, we lost one of those 3 Raptor vacuum engines. Still able to demonstrate our engine out capability, reach the planned suborbital trajectory. We've made some hardware operational changes on this flight and have some additional reliability improvements coming in the future. Once in space, Starship was able to deploy all 20 of the Starlink simulators, 2 modified Starlink satellites that got these brief shots of Starship in space, which was dope. We skipped the in-space burn due to engine issues, but then Starship got ready to re-enter the atmosphere. It was able to do a flap stressing test and did the maneuver to mimic the trajectory that future missions returning to Starbase are going to fly. Then it got to the pre-planned splashdown zone in the Indian Ocean, where we had drones and buoys ready and waiting. After the Raptors turned on for a flip, landing burn, Starship was in the water, and Flight 12 was in the books. So, a lot of excitement, a lot of firsts, a lot of learnings. All that set us up for round 2 today. Just getting to a launch day comes with a bunch of hurdles, a ton of problems to solve, a million little stories. Here's just a quick peek into one of those stories that was on the path to Flight 12 that we featured in the second episode of our ongoing documentary, Starship.
All right. I'm not sure if we're having some audio issues or what, but some good information there from Dan about Flight 12 and all of the successes and learnings that came from that. One thing I heard him mention towards the beginning of the stream we were talking about earlier is, yeah, the Starlinks are only going to have about 20 minutes to actually do all of those tests they want to do. So that's, of course, not very much time to do everything, but I guess they're pretty confident that they can fly through those milestones. So that'll be fun to watch. Weather's looking good. Vehicles are looking good. 25 minutes out, feeling pretty good about this.
Wow, it's crazy. It's like if you look away, you'll miss prop load.
Yeah, that frost line's already making pretty good progress on the ship, and it's only been loading for about 10 minutes.
Yeah, I looked away because I was trying to clean my camera, and I realized it was actually the glare from my light. And by the time I looked up, the lock tank is like almost a quarter full.
We got a 1999 super chat from Bill Anderson 1389. Says, great work, you guys, as always. Maximum substance, minimum fluff. That's what we shoot for here at Avid. Thank you very much for your extended support, Bill.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Bill.
There's some nice footage and interviews there from the most recent episode of the documentary series. This is the part where they were replacing the roller on the chopsticks, and that shot there in the elevator almost looks like they're about to storm the beaches. It's awesome.
The whole team in one trip.
And that was, I was really impressed by that, because I remember, when that happened, when they were when they had the chopsticks kind of conk out on them, and that was a crazy fast turnaround to get that thing replaced using spare parts from the Florida site. They had the interviewing the guy in the flame trench there. And Zach, did you get a little jealous that they were basically recreating your CGI shots inside the flame trench, but in real life?
No, I was worried that we got the like the size wrong, like you know, because I thought maybe I was like way too big in that clip, and so I was like worried, and it's just hard though because they're using a really wide angle camera on that, so I was like kind of confused what I was seeing because it looked so much wider than I was expecting it to be, just because like we do all of our scenes in 20 millimeter. Oh, did we lose the
I think we
stream right there?
We might be having some technical difficulties here. Oh, looks like it's back in the.
Yeah, but despite that, I think the really cool thing about that was, you know, just seeing it in operation from that angle. I mean, they showed a lot of really cool angles there from in the trench, and it was yet another thing that I've like posted about in the past. Oh my, that view from under the launch mount gets me every time.
Yeah, we all got to stop and look at that.
Yeah. So we saw drones up there every time that they were testing the system in the very beginning, but then they never actually showed anything from it. So I think I posted in the past on X that I was like upset that I know that they're hoarding all this footage and wondering when we're actually going to get to see it. So it was nice to actually see some of the stuff that we knew they were filming. So I think we're going to continue to get really awesome views on this flight. And I mean, really, I can't think of a time where they didn't add another cool view that wasn't present on the previous flight. So I'm hoping for a top-down view this time during liftoff.
Yeah, they seem to be upgrading their views pretty much every stream. I really appreciate it. I think they showed some footage of this in the most recent docu episode. But the view from the tower looking at the QD arm as it disconnects, I thought that was really neat. That's a view I've been wanting to see for a while.
And for the first
Yeah,
time,
it was almost surprising to see them standing up there during the retract.
Just under 20 minutes away.
Lionquist, a Starlink business analyst here at SpaceX. And for those of you who have been following along, the Starlink version 3 satellites have been designed to take full advantage of Starship's payload capacity. We're going to get our first look at those satellites today. The Starlink V3 is our next-gen satellite and includes meaningful increases in capacity, data density, and power generation. We'll be adding around 20 times the capacity into the constellation on each Starship mission as compared to the version 2 satellites that we currently launch on Falcon. That means that we'll be able to serve more people all around the world with increasingly better high-speed internet. Like all of the Starlink satellites, the V3s are built at Starlink's site in Redmond, Washington, where we already build more satellites than anyone else in the world today. The Starlink V3 sats are designed to support 1 terabit per second of downlink and 160 gigabits per second of uplink capacity. That's approximately a 10 times improvement in downlink capacity and a 22 times increase in uplink capacity from the version 2 Starlink satellite. Serving this capacity to and from customers are the satellite's upgraded phased array antennas. The upgraded phased arrays are fed by SpaceX's in-house developed chips that were designed to serve customers more efficiently in both densely and sparsely populated regions simultaneously. Each Starlink V3 satellite is also equipped with 6 high-capacity 400 gigabit space lasers. These 6 lasers will allow high bandwidth traffic to flow uninterrupted between any 2 points in the world with redundant paths across a petabit laser mesh network. And if that wasn't enough, the V3s will carry 4 quad-band radio frequency backhaul antennas. These will take advantage of the Ka, E, V, and W communication bands, allowing for an 8 times improvement in the supported capacity compared to our V2 sats. Now that's a lot of growth in capacity and capability, and as such, the new satellite design requires more power. So the solar arrays on V3 will generate approximately twice as much power as the current arrays that we fly on the V2 satellites. And they're also optimized to reduce drag in the lower orbital altitudes in which these satellites will operate. But before we operationalize these satellites, we want to put them in a flight-like environment. So these satellites were just loaded into Starship yesterday ahead of today's launch. And once deployed, the Starlink team will only have about 20 minutes of flight to speed run some tests before the sats demise in the atmosphere. Now, the team will attempt to run tests such as extending the new solar arrays and antennas, connecting with ground stations, and turning on the satellite's communication systems. And this is all part of SpaceX's iterative process to technology advancement. And from the beginning, Starlink was designed to scale rapidly and improve continuously. From production to launch and ground infrastructure, Starlink is uniquely positioned to keep pace with rising demand around the world. In fact, just this week, we rolled out the next generation Starlink kit V5, which is built for reliable, high-speed home internet.
All right, so that was some nice information there on Starlink V3. And if you can see, we went away from it a little bit, and the frost line has doubled in height. So we're getting pretty deep into propellant load now, just about 16 minutes away from liftoff. I saw someone in chat saying we seem very, and they're trying to find the word nerdy, nervous. I mean, you can just say nervous. I mean, there's a certain level of nervousness or anticipation that comes with all these launches, I think. But, you know, after 12 of them, I guess it's not quite as nerve-wracking. But, you know, it's wanting to see things go right, being excited for everything coming up. And as SpaceX always says, excitement guaranteed.
Engineering, Ian Dahl. We covered a whole lot of stuff. The focus really was on the 3 limiting factors to making data centers in space a reality. The first factor we really dug into was needing way more mass to orbit. We're talking megatons, and that's where Starship comes in by combining full reusability, massive payload capacity that's essential to launch the number of satellites that we're talking about, because we plan to deploy up to 1 million AI satellites, and those are going to function as orbital data centers, leveraging Starship for that high-volume, low-cost launch. There's a couple of reasons why moving data centers to space has some pretty immediate advantages over building them here on Earth, which takes us to our next limiting factor, and that's power generation. Because guess what? It's always sunny in space. Satellites can harness near constant solar energy. I mean, you're tapping into an energy source that becomes the only way to scale if AI continues to grow at the pace that it is, especially when you contrast it with all of the challenges we see here on Earth. Within about 2 to 3 years, we believe space-based AI compute will become the lowest cost option as launch costs drop and Earth-based power constraints grow. So it's going to just transform how our planet powers AI. And to unlock all of that, we get to our third limiting factor. We need to make significantly more chips, and we got to do it fast. And that's where we're going with Terafab. This is going to be the most epic chip building effort ever. And we say epic, you just look at the scale of this thing. That's the size of a Tesla Gigafactory, about 10 million square feet. We need to think bigger. We're looking at about 100 million square feet, so you're talking 10 gigafactories worth of space. It all sounds a bit fantastical, a bit out there, but all of this together represents a step towards becoming a galactic civilization, harnessing more power from our nearest star, supporting the reality-shifting AI applications that are coming, and advancing humanity's multiplanetary future. So if you want to learn more about that, you can watch that full conversation on our website at spacexai/starmine. So a lot of really cool stuff coming. Kate, future looking pretty sweet, but first things first, Flight 13.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. The future is built on progressive steps like today's test. Now, let's dive into the flight profile.
Right, so today we'll be starting with liftoff of Pad 2 here at Starbase. Super Heavy will ignite those 33 Raptor 3 engines, and we will then power through ascent ahead of our hot stage separation, which is when the booster will shut down all but 5 engines at the bottom. Stage 2 will then light its own Raptor engines, pushing off of Super Heavy and starting that hot stage separation. We will then have the directional booster flip, with Super Heavy igniting those 33 Raptor engines. And after coasting for a few minutes, the booster will then target a landing burn and splash down a few miles off the coast of Starbase.
Ship keeps the fun going with its ascent burn to a suborbital trajectory. We then deploy those 20 Starlink V3 satellites, and we plan to relight a single Raptor engine. Re-entry then follows a few minutes later, which should provide some amazing views via Starlink of the ship's blistering re-entry through the Earth's atmosphere. A plasma blanket will form around the vehicle, and this never fails to provide epic scenes as the vehicle comes back. And lastly, we'll conclude today's test with a landing flip, landing burn, and a splashdown in the Indian Ocean. And with that, let's kick it back up to Dan for a countdown update.
Hey, thanks, Kate. Good news is very little news. We are continuing to look on track for a liftoff today, not tracking any issues on the vehicle or the pad side. Range status continues to be green. Reminder, we're tracking the range out in the Gulf off the coast of Starbase where we're launching over, and then also out in the Indian Ocean where we're hopefully sending a Starship in just about 11 minutes from now. Weather looks gorgeous. Blue skies, low winds, couple of clouds, not a concern for flight today. And again, the vehicle and the pad both looking great. We are in kind of the latter stages of propellant loading. We got into the go, no go with the flight control team at about T-minus 1 hour. And then we've been loading prop for about, quick math, about 26 minutes now. We're going to continue loading propellant, that's your liquid oxygen, your liquid methane, onto both of these vehicles until just a little over 2 minutes before we lift off. We'll close out on the ship at about 2 minutes and 10 seconds, and on the booster before that at about 2 minutes and 50 seconds. So at the moment, we're looking good. We're counting down to the very top of our window. It was a 90-minute window. It opens right at 5:45 p.m. Central Time. Looking good to hit that right at the top. Back over to you guys.
Thanks, Dan. Now, as teams prepare for today's launch from Texas, work is also continuing on the other side of the Gulf in Florida, where Starship will soon be launching, potentially later this year.
That's right. Starship flights from Florida will initially lift off from Launch Complex 39A at NASA's Kennedy Space Center. Teams are working through Starship system activations, performing initial tower chopstick motion tests, confirming the operation of the hold downs on the launch mount, and performing multiple integrated tests of the propellant farms, water farm, diverter, and launch mount. With Starship coming to 39A, the launch complex will soon have 2 operational pads for 2 very different rockets with Starship and Falcon Heavy. It has been awesome to see the 39A Starship program come to life over several years, and it's going to be exciting to soon see a Starship launch from this historic pad.
Yeah, we're super excited. But 39A isn't SpaceX's only pad in Florida. Just a few miles down the coast at Space Launch Complex 37, the first of 2 Starship launch pads at that site is quickly taking shape. Pad 37A is targeted to be ready for flight operations early next year, which is very fast considering we only started construction on the pad in November. This year, teams have worked through ground preparations at the pad and fuel farms while also fully excavating the flame trench for Pad 37A. In June, stacking began of the launch and catch tower, and you can see that there on your screen. And we have plans to complete that stacking in the coming weeks.
And a few miles west of Pad 37 is our Cape Giga Bay, where all Starship vehicles in Florida will be processed for flight. Recently, teams finished erecting all of the building's steel and are now working to finish the exterior of the structure. In the coming weeks, SpaceX will complete activation of the first crane in the building, set up the first integration stands, and complete platform work to be ready for supporting the first Starship vehicles that will arrive in Florida. We'll transport the rockets from Texas to Florida, and honestly, it's just going to be so exciting to see a Starship take flight from the Space Coast. Especially exciting as I had the opportunity to play a role in the Starship Cape program in my previous role, so
that's pretty awesome.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah. Clearly, SpaceX's future in Florida is coming together quickly with planned launches already on the horizon, including regular trips to the moon. And speaking of the moon, NASA recently announced the Artemis 3 crew for the next moon mission. Let's head back up to Dan for more on that.
Yeah, thanks, Kate. I mean, we're not going to take a minute. We're not going to take a minute to nerd out a little bit about the moon. So NASA just announced the Artemis 3 mission. That's going to be a crewed demonstration flight into low Earth orbit designed to demonstrate a lot of the critical systems needed for future lunar landings. We've got our astronaut crew, 3 from NASA, 1 from the European Space Agency. Randy Bresnik, Luca Parmitano, Frank Rubio, and Andre Douglas are going to crew that mission slated for 2027. That's going to be the penultimate mission, the final test before Artemis attempts to put astronaut boots back on the moon for the first time since 1972. For our part, we're going to be launching a Starship with a docking port on the nose so we can practice rendezvous and docking with the crew inside of Orion. One of our key test objectives is going to come after docking, where we're going to be able to test out the maneuverability of both vehicles while they're connected. This has some extra importance as the revamp plan for the Artemis landing missions are going to use Starship to do the burn that sends astronauts to the moon from Earth orbit. And one other cool ad that just came out today, NASA is going to be putting 2 SpaceX mini lasers on Orion to connect it to our Starlink constellation, where we already use thousands of lasers today. And they're going to be doing that with the goal of enabling 4K imagery and video from the spacecraft while they're in space. So a lot of excitement planned for next year as we all work together to send humans back to the moon, begin building a moon base, get to that future where anybody that wants to go to the moon is going to hopefully be able to go to the moon. So lots of really cool stuff to come. For now, though, we're at T-minus 6 minutes, 18 seconds into today's launch, and we're getting into terminal count. So let's zoom in. So range continues to be green. Weather continues to be gorgeous. We are getting into the final stages of propellant loading on both stages of Starship. Again, we're putting liquid oxygen, liquid methane on both the booster and the ship. The ship has main tanks. It also has those small...
All right, so some good info there about Artemis 3 and some of the other goings-on in the Starship program. Just wanted to stop real quick. We have just under 6 minutes to go until liftoff, but I wanted to shout out real quick. We had a $25 Venmo donation from Jeffrey E. Thank you so much, Jeffrey, for the $25 there, the extended support. And yeah, everything's looking really good. Just a quick reminder, liftoff probably will happen on our feeds just before it does on SpaceX's feeds because they're a tiny bit behind. But everything's looking good. 5 minutes to go. Let's light this candle.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. 3 bags full. I'm headed outside to the cams to start the tracking. So rock on, everybody. We'll see you on the other side.
All right. See you, Lab. Looking forward to that track.
Before we start flying, so that time is now at T-minus 60. That's the point where we can pause to wait. We'll only hold there if there's an issue, and we can recycle back.
So
minus 60
we're holding
seconds
at T-minus
passes,
60
a number
now
of
instead of
events will
40
occur
if they
in
need to.
rapid succession. Both the ship and booster will configure their comm systems for flight and will rapidly run leak checks on gas and fluid tanks. The booster will also go to internal power and its engines will get its final priming for launch while the ship's engines begin their ascent bleed profile and it arms the automatic flight safety system. There's a lot of mechanical activations on the tower side as well, with one critical step, unlatching the quick disconnect feeding propellant into the ship.
And once T-minus 60 seconds has passed, there is still the ability to rapidly recycle the count under certain conditions back to that T-minus 60 second hold point. We can hold there and assess what happened and if teams can proceed again to T0. We've got about 5 to 8 minutes of hold time, and that will largely be driven by the propellant temperatures that we see on the vehicle while holding. The flame diverter on pad 2, which you can see the side profile of it there on your screen, that activates at T T-minus 17 seconds. And if we trigger a hold after that, it will result in a scrub for the day. So we're now just under 3.5 minutes until liftoff. If you've recently joined, we're planning to deploy 20 of our Starlink V3 satellites. These are real V3s on board, so that's exciting. We also would like to perform a Raptor in-space relay as well.
That's right. And actually on the screen now, you're seeing an awesome view of our pad and the clouds that you're seeing coming off of our fuel tank farm, all now being used for its second time here for Flight 13.
All right, so we're through the 3-minute mark. So we should be closing out prop load on the booster any second now. And then the closeouts on the ship will come just a little bit after that. Again, we're looking a little over 11.5 million pounds of propellant on both of these vehicles. We are not currently tracking any holds on the board, which is always good news. Reminder, we have that built-in hold at T-minus 1 minute. We're only going to stop there if we run into an issue where we need a couple of minutes to hang out. But right now, we have no holds on the board. So a lot on deck for Starship, the second flight of Starship version 3. Booster version 3, Raptor 3, looking to get off the pad here in 2 minutes.
Just 2 minutes to go. Got any final words for us, Zach?
All right, so we
well,
are closing
I was
the fill drain valves.
hoping we were going to get some info on
vehicles.
additional info on the failures from last time, but as I kind of suspected, we didn't really get much information outside what was already mentioned. But yeah, I mean, with that said, I think we kind of just gotta keep the fingers crossed. I have a feeling. Oh, those TVC wiggles are pretty awesome view right there. Yeah, like I said, I'm really excited. I think that I think things are going to go much better this time for the booster. That's like always my biggest my biggest worry. You know, until they get to regular recovery, that's like my biggest thing that I'm always thinking about. So.
Continue counting down. So let's go. T-minus 1 minute. Let's listen in. Let the rocket do the talking. See if we can get a Starship off the pad today.
And we are holding.
We did trigger a hold. So again, we have this hold built in. We've got a couple of checkouts that are going to happen on the vehicle and the pad that we've got to clear. A lot of it's tied to essentially the different pressures that are in the systems that are feeding prop into the vehicles. Looks like we are getting ready to reset that hold though. And the clock is rolling.
Sweet. Now just about 40 seconds away. We'll watch on our feed for that deluge to come up.
There it goes.
There it is. There is ignition. That looked like an abort.
Wow.
All right.
And we did trigger a hold right at startup there. You saw we got a hold on the booster.
Is that?
So
I think
stick
that's
with
the
us for
first
a
ignition
second.
abort that we've seen of a full stack.
So
So we
I
did
do
trigger a
believe so.
hold on the booster that aborted our liftoff as we were starting to light those Raptor engines. As a reminder, since we already turned the diverter on, we are going to be scrubbed for the day. The team's already starting to pull for offload of both vehicles, so starting to get the prop off.
Yeah, so that is going to be a scrub.
We'll take
Wow.
a little bit of time to look into what triggered that abort. Usually we'll take some data review for all of our teams. But again, we did abort on the startup of the booster. So we weren't tracking any holds moving in to those final seconds into that final minute. But that is going to be a scrub for the day. So the team's now moving into commodity offload. We're going to take the methane and the oxygen off of both Starship and Super Heavy. So not the end result you're looking for, but we've got vehicle there still on the pad, and they're going to get these commodities offloaded. We'll take some time, dig into what triggered that abort once the booster was igniting to launch, and then we'll figure out what our path forward is going to be. Again, if you're just jumping in, we're not going to be launching today. We got all the way down to startup, triggered a hold on the booster, and that shut down the engines right as they were starting to ignite. All right, so at this point, they're going to get into offload. We're going to get all the methane, all the oxygen off the vehicle, and then we'll figure out next steps. So no Starship launch today. We'll dig in with the teams, figure out what happened, and figure out when our next attempt is going to be. And obviously, we're going to keep you updated as well. So we'll dig into what our recycle time is, when we're going to be able to try again. Be sure to follow us on X at SpaceX. We're going to share updates there as soon as more information becomes available and when we can get back for flying. So thanks for tuning in today. Hopefully, we'll be back real soon for Flight 13 and another attempt to get Starship off the pad. Thanks, everybody.
Well, that was anticlimactic.
Yeah, a little disappointing. But I mean, you couldn't ask for a better view of an abort.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, so an abort during startup, no indication what caused it, but they said they would give us more info when it's available. So yeah, I mean they'll have to refill the deluge. So, I don't know if I guess it depends on what the exact issue is. So yeah.
Yeah. The good thing about that is that you can actually see it. I think we have their angle up still, but so I think I mentioned this on the last stream, the retention pond that they have next to the launch mount is just basically like a giant offloading station. So they can bring like 10 trucks at a time to just dump water into that and then pump it into the tanks. I think sometime within the next 6 months, they will have the municipal supply online. So things like this, that they theoretically could refill the tanks. The interesting thing about this is that they don't use anywhere near the volume of what the tanks actually store. So like in total, they have like 850,000 gallons, I think, close to that between all of those tanks, but they only use about 400. So you would think that even with a activation like this, that they have enough water to do it again. But in the future, they will be able to just top off the tanks with that municipal supply, so it'd be a lot faster on the recycle. Not sure if it's fast enough to recycle while the propellant's still on board, but it should at least allow them to start to get close to being able to do something like that. So yeah, but I'm sure we'll see a large convoy of tankers, both cryo tankers and water trucks on the pad over the next 12 to 24 hours or so. But yeah, hopefully we get another attempt tomorrow. And if so, we'll be back here with y'all, or I'll honestly probably be here either way, whatever day it is. I just hope it's not during the World Cup final. That would suck.
Right.
Which they're not going to launch on a Sunday though, right? So we're good. We're probably good.
Yeah. I don't know. I did see someone ask, if that sort of hard stop can damage the engines, like in the 10 engine static fire. I mean, there's always a chance, that you're going to damage the engines, even if, you have like a full duration burn. So, I mean, there's a chance. And if they do, they can go and replace those engines. And that probably takes, a few days. But either way, I guess it just depends on what the exact issue is.
Yeah, and it looks like it looks like 4 of the engines didn't light. From the ring of 10, 4 engines didn't light, which is interesting. It's probably one of the. I mean, obviously, this is the first time we've ever seen that kind of abort, but also first time we've not necessarily seen, other than I think flight 1. There was one other flight where they did have an engine failed to light on ignition, but 4 failing to light, that's pretty wild. I don't think we've seen that before.
Yeah, no, on flight 1, they lifted off with, I think, 3 engines out. And on flight 4, they had 1 go out. I think it was, I don't know if it was at ignition, but I think it was like right after liftoff, they had 1 go out. So not unheard of, but yeah, 4 engines. I don't think you'd want to lift off on 29 out of 33.
Yeah, and beyond that, I mean, now that I'm thinking about it, like, I feel like there's 2 different things at play here now, because you have maybe possibly issues with those engines that didn't light that could require them to be swapped out for some reason. And then the engines that did light, depending on where they were in that sequence, they theoretically could have damage as well too. However, this was a little bit different than the abort that they had for the 10 engine test, because that was a pad abort, which is kind of like an emergency shutdown, versus this is a theoretically possibly a shutdown that's more of, okay, something's not right on vehicle side. It's not detrimental to the pad itself, so we'll allow the engines to do a normal shutdown instead of a hard shutdown. So I mean, but honestly, we don't know how that abort logic actually works, but there is definitely a possibility that there could be damage to the ones that started up, but hopefully, I think that's why he was a little bit not as optimistic about saying we'll try again for tomorrow, because I'm guessing this type of abort more than likely is going to require a destack.
Yeah. It'll depend on what exactly it is, but yeah, I'm thinking more times than not, an abort at ignition is going to have to require some repairs of some kind. So it looks like Lab's back. What you got for us, Lab?
Not a damn thing. That was cold-blooded, man.
What did the ignition sound like?
It was very light, distant thunder. Is that what it sounded like?
I don't think that sound came through on the stream, but
yeah, I don't think we heard it.
Okay. Yeah, that was it was very light, distant thunder, just one quick rumble, and that was it, man. Like y'all were saying, it doesn't sound very optimistic that we're gonna see something tomorrow. Hope I'm wrong, but then again, there's some underlying circumstances that we could use a couple of days of a delay. Lucy, do you know what I'm talking about?
I mean, yeah, it sucks to see, but I guess better to have, like a couple of people have said in chat, better to have an abort now than to be, a minute into the flight and see a pop.
You can see the line of people already waiting for the buses to come through.
Oh man.
Yeah, there's some upset people here.
Wow.
Man.
Yeah, I think for most people, the day they go down is their one day that they can go down. So it's always unfortunate.
This crowd will probably, if we do something tomorrow, it'll be half probably, and unfortunately for them, it's a sad day. Here comes the first bus now.
Yeah, and I was just watching basically like right after the abort happened, I just saw the amount of people that just tuned out, left. Like, I mean, it's like, I say if you're gonna go down to watch like a launch, if you're gonna go to the Cape or to Starbase or something, plan like at least a 2 or 3 day trip. I mean, or at least ideally, that's what you want to do. I understand a lot of people probably only have 1 day that they can budget for, but yeah, I mean, these things happen. It's just the reality.
Yeah, especially with R&D stuff like this, you got to have multiple days planned because it almost always doesn't go on the first day.
Honestly, I wish that the abort happened during trading hours because I just want to see like what.
Just watch the stock.
Yeah, I just want to see like what happens. Like, I mean, we're in a new territory now, so I kind of want to see.
Yeah. Well, we did just get a tweet from Elon that says some of the engines didn't start, triggering an automatic launch abort. Now offloading propellant. Next launch attempt, hopefully in a few days. So it does sound like they're probably going to have to destack and do some repairs on the booster. But with that, we'll be here, in the next few days whenever they try this thing again. But with that being said, we'll start wrapping things up here at Avid. Thank you guys so much for showing up. I know it wasn't quite the outcome we were looking for, but we appreciate the support from you guys nonetheless. We'll be back here in a few days when SpaceX tries again. We encourage you to come back. And yeah, any last words from either of you guys, Zach and Lab?
Yeah, I was just going to give special shouts out to the whiz kid over here, sitting right there. What's up, everybody? My right-hand man, my brute force out here, Rusty Buckets, Gray Rocker, all the cam ops, YouTube moderators, Discord moderators, and we got a special new helper out from the out west. Mr. Friday Ray is in the house down here helping out. Special shout out to Sapphire Condominiums in the Isla Grande Beach Resort, and to all of y'all for watching with us today. Unfortunately, it didn't happen, so we'll see how it goes. Zach?
Yeah, definitely. I'll excited to be here on the next one. I feel like we almost always get one abort lately. So yeah, I mean, it's just part of the gig, you know what I mean? So hopefully they get everything figured out. I think like Elon said, it's going to probably be a few days. So gives them time to figure everything out. And, like I said, it's better for them to have the problem and actually have these abort situations in place than for, something to turn into like a bigger issue. So, hopefully they get everything figured out soon, and we'll be back when they do.
Also, I didn't want to forget Lucid, our head production guy, and all the rest of the production team and the writers. Thank you all for your hard work. Couldn't do it without y'all guys.
Yes, big shout out to Lucid. He's been in our ears this whole stream. None of this would be possible without him. So big shout out there. But I'll wrap things up here at Avid. Once again, thank you guys so much for watching. If you like the stream, feel free to leave a like and sub to the channel. It helps us out a whole lot. But without further ado, we'll see you here in a few days for the next attempt of Starship Flight 13. This is folks from Avid Space signing off.
Shutting her down.